Hi everyone! I'm going to be sewing the Denver backpack today, the mini version. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. I have my pieces back here. So I'm doing the mini size, and I've already got a lot of prep work done. All my pieces are cut and interfaced. I used Decaville Light on the bottom panel, only on the exterior. I used some canvas, so I used Decaville Light on the back, and I did not put a layer of woven fuse down first. I'm using waterproof canvas for my lining, so I will not need to interface it. My straps are already made. And then I cut my zipper panel pieces, my zipper tabs, sorry, that's what they're called, at 1.5 inches by 3. This way I can use my number 5 zipper tape. It works without, that's how I've actually been doing it. I've been cutting it to the actual size in the pattern. I just take a bigger seam allowance, which is what I'm going to do anyways. But I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a little bit here. Okay, so since I used that canvas, these exterior pieces right here, I did not interface them at all. My side pocket pieces are also going to be the canvas, so I'm not going to interface those. And I believe that it covers everything. I already have my hardware out, and my zippers the pulls are put on. So we're going to get starting to sew the zipper tabs. I'm going to do it a little bit out of order, but not too terribly much. So I'm going to place you all back here. And grab your 5 zipper tabs. And we're going to take 2 of our short ends in here, and we're going to fold them in 1/2 inch on each side. I've got a little handy dandy measuring ruler type thing right on my board here, my table. So I'm going to clip them for right now, and then I will press them in just a moment. I'm going to do this for all 5. If you have noticed already, my stripes go in 2 different directions. This is how I want the bag to look. I want it to be not matching. It is Beetlejuice fabric after all. In the pattern, it only has you do like 4 of them right now, but there's no reason to not do the 5th one right now as well. So I prep all of my zippers after I prep all of my straps. So I'm going to turn around to the iron and press these quick. Okay, and one more. That one slipped a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna grab our 3 zippers. I use zipper tape, and I have cut it to 10 inches. And I have put my pull on by cutting about 1/4 of an inch off the end of my zipper. Can you see that? So now I'm gonna trim those ends off. I'm going to put one zipper aside for right now, so it'll be alright anyways. Okay, so I'm going to take one zipper tab with the wrong side up, and I'm going to lay my zipper and my raw end of my zipper to the raw end of the folded inside. Like this, match those up. Then we're going to do it with this side, and we're going to sandwich it in. Make sure you get that all lined up. And you want to try to center your zipper, but we're just going to trim off any extra anyways. And we're going to top stitch it on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I use a 4.5 on my juki. I'm going to go ahead and grab another zipper end and do the same thing to another one. Since I've already got a little line going here. And do it to the last one. But make sure for the last one you do it at your closed end. Pull those out. The last one that you made sure to do on your closed end, you can put aside. And we'll grab the other 2 and do the exact same thing. You can base stitch, you can base stitch across here to close it if you would wish. I'm just going to pinch it together. Still just lining up your zipper end with the folded in edges. with the raw edges of the folded in edge, I should say. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for our last one here. I'm just going to snip your thread. If you have any extra zipper tab fabric, you can trim it now. Just be careful not to clip any of your zipper tape. If you do happen to clip your zipper tape, I do believe if you just run a lighter next to the side, it will prevent any fraying. So I did not clip any of my zipper tape. Not yet, I should say. But I do like to heat seal the ends of my thread on these top stitchings because they have come undone just a little bit while I was putting a bag together, and then my zipper tab actually didn't get caught right. Or, well, it got caught right, but it unraveled at the end. I'm just putting a little bit of heat to all the ends. Hopefully not too much to set it on fire like I did a moment ago, but just a little bit. Just so those ends don't come unraveled before you get it stitched together. So right now we should have 3 completed zipper tabs. Or zippers rather. 2 and 1 more. Okay, and I am going to base stitch my zipper closed now. I have lost my zipper pull while doing this bag lots of times, so I had to make my zipper go the other way because it came off when the bag was almost done. I'm actually going to do this one more time because it doesn't look like it's really that great. My zipper pull has come off. I just put it back on and it goes the other way on the bag. It's not a big deal. So that now we're going to move on to attaching our zippers. So go ahead and grab your exterior and your lining pieces just to have them nearby. You only need 1 exterior piece and 1 fully complete zipper. So you're going to have your pull, your zipper pull at the very top. And we are going to match those with the zipper pull facing the exterior zipper pocket. So my zipper is face down. And we're going to pin this all the way down to here. like to have mine dangle while I'm clipping it, so I can let gravity do some work here. Alright, so remember I am working with a number 5 zipper. I am going to take 1/4 of an inch seam allowance for now and sew this on. I'm not going to backstitch at the end or the beginning because we're basically base stitching this on right now. You can sew these with the lining on already if you want. However, this has a pretty good curve to it, so I do recommend basting it on at least for the first few times, so you get used to it. I unzip my zipper just a little bit so I can help get around this curve easier without messing up any stitching. I had a little bit of leftover fabric at the end. I'm not going to worry about it because it's a pretty big seam allowance that we'll have. So what I'm going to do is grab the other side and the other fully completed zipper, and we're going to do the same thing. The zipper pull will be at the top and it will be face down against the exterior zipper pocket. And we're going to clip it down. I should have wore a different colored shirt so you all could see this better. Okay. Again, I'm gonna. I've opened up my zipper just a little bit to get it out of the way, and I'm going to sew this on at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to close that back up. Okay, so we have 2 exterior pieces attached to our zipper. Let's go ahead and grab 2 mirror imaged lining pieces, and we're going to put them right sides together and sandwich the zipper right in. We're going to match up our top and our bottom. Feel free to use as many or as few clips as you would like. Whatever you are comfortable with. So now I have this face up. Actually, I have it, the exterior is looking at me. I can see the wrong side though. And I'm going to sew this together, and I'm going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance this time. I'm not going to backstitch again because we will top stitch this up. We will top stitch this in a minute. I'm going to make sure my needle is down. I can feel my zipper pull coming up, so I'm going to just open that back up to ease this around without messing up any stitching. And there we go. You can flip it right side out right now if you want, just because it's so fun to do that. Here we go. These pockets will have like a three-dimensional look to them. They are three-dimensional. They don't have the look, they are. Make sure you have your right sides together. And do the same thing for this one. 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And that, again, is because I'm using a number 5 zipper. I think I just drove past my pull. I did. Like it wasn't even there. Alright. And we can flip this one out. We can go ahead and press this if you wish. I have just been finger pressing them and it's worked out just fine. I'm going to turn my stitch length to a 4.5 and I'm going to top stitch the seam we just did right here at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Or what I do is I just line up the side of my zipper foot on the inside here with the groove, like an edge foot, or what I would imagine is what an edge foot does. My zipper's right here. If it's in your way, go ahead and move it. We now have a top stitched pocket. Ta-da. You can't see that it's open from this way. Hey! And we will repeat. Make sure your seam is pushing down towards the bottom of the pocket and your lining is matched up with your exterior. The zipper is actually probably not in my way, but just to be safe, I move it out of the way. Alright, 2 done. So now I'm going to have the one I just did. The inside is facing up at me. I'm going to take one of my lining panel pieces. It's got to be the one that matches this one. I want to take my exterior side and put it right on down. So it'll be the exterior of my lining, not the exterior of my lining, the right side of my lining and the right side of this lining, and they'll be sandwiched, they'll be right sides together. And then we're going to clip our pocket piece, our lining pocket piece, to the top of the zipper, the raw edge. That should curve right on in there. Again, use as many or as few clips as you need. Okay. Then I'm gonna do it to the other one. I have my exterior face down, so I'm looking at the right side of my lining pocket. I'm gonna take the last lining pocket piece with the exterior away from me so it touches the right side, the right side of the lining pocket. And then we'll clip these ones together at the top of the zipper. Remember I told you I had a little extra over here. It's not a big deal. And we're going to go ahead and sew this on. Again, I'm going to use 1/4 inch seam allowance right now. I'm not going to backstitch. I had my stitch turned up to a 4.5, which would have been fine. You just basically don't want your zipper to move. But I turned it down to a 2. Well, it's technically a 2.5. Keep going nice and slow around your curves if you need to, or go lickety-split fast. It's totally up to you. Alrighty. We now have this. So this will be our one we just attached, and the lining and the exterior over here. And then when you open it, you'll be able to see the right side of both of your excuse me, the right side of both of your lining fabrics. Time to repeat. I'm not sure what that noise was. Alright. I like to keep trimming my threads, because I always get them caught somewhere where they're not supposed to be caught. Okay, so now we will attach our zipper pockets to our external front piece. So these like strange shapes. Okay, so I've got one of the external front pieces looking up at me, and I've got the matching zipper pocket. I have them setting in to where they would like sit when the bag's complete. Then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to match my corners. This one here with the corner of my zipper pocket. And then I'll match it with the bottom corner and the bottom corner of my zipper pocket. And then we're just going to ease this zipper pocket in. Then I'm going to have it with the zipper pocket looking up at me, so the curve is going under my machine like this. I will show you on the other one. Actually, I lied to you. I'm going to have it going against the curve. Because I have no interfacing on my canvas, I want to make sure it stays smooth. So I'm going to make sure I'm at a 2.5, and I'm going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and sew this on. See how like it's kind of wanting to gather itself, so I can just smooth it out better this way. It's not wanting to gather itself, but bunch up, you know? I'm gonna unzip my zipper some. And you can flip that up. And this is what we have so far. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I have my panel looking up. My zipper pocket fits in there the way it's supposed to. The zipper pull will be at the top. And we'll match up our corners. And our other corner. And ease that pocket in. With my exterior fabric right side up. Well, it's looking at me. It's not necessarily right side up. I will use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and stitch this on. This way is actually rather easy. I've got a nice little ridge in here to be able to sew pretty straight without much work. Really nice. Alright, and then we can open that one up as well. Your pocket piece will stay down, so when you press this, you want to press only the seam allowance up towards the exterior piece. So it is not in the pattern, but I do like to top stitch here. So after you press, change your stitch length to your top stitch length, which is a 4.5 in my case, and top stitch your zipper on, your zipper pocket rather. And then open this zipper up, get it out of the way. I'll get it real close here. And there's our top stitching now. This fabric looks like it's glowing from my angle. Getting that zipper out of my way. Alright, this one is done as well. So now we are going to take these zipper tabs and we're going to push them upwards. And I like to match my top stitching. So I'm going to match my zipper tab, top stitching. Just going to make your pocket stick out just a little bit more. We're going to do that on both sides. So you want to fold that zipper tab up towards your exterior. And then I match my zipper, or my seam, my top stitching. I match my top stitching. And after that is matched, I make sure this pocket is all matched up. All we're doing is base stitching this shut. This pattern calls for about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so you can base stitch this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to pivot down here and continue on. And it is kind of bulky here, so take your time, lift up that presser foot if you need to. So now our pocket is fully on and basted shut. Guess what time it is? Repeat. Alright. Make sure you push those zipper tabs up towards the lining. Sorry. Up towards the exterior. We have 2 zipper pockets attached. Next, we will attach our zipper to the tops of these. Okay, let's attach that zipper to the top. So I'm going to grab the zipper panel with the rectangular cutout. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, the rectangular cutout is pointing to the right when I'm looking down on it. I'm going to take my zipper I'm going to lay it right sides together with the zipper tab on the left hand side. So the zipper pull is at the bottom. So you want to match up your ends of your zipper tab. Actually, you know what? You're supposed to cut the ends of the zipper tab here. Cut it all the way across. And I never trimmed down the tabs from earlier on this piece. Okay, carrying on. Match up those corners. And your zipper is supposed to stop about 1 inch from the end. And then clip this on. Now, since this is a straight zipper, there is no curves or anything, I am not going to baste this on. I am going to grab an exterior panel lining main panel, actually. Not this one, I need the other one. And I'm going to take it and put it right sides down. The rectangles that are cut out should match up. And I'm going to clip this all together. Okay, on the ends with the zipper tabs, you want to start sewing 5/8 of an inch away from the end. So I'm going to take a little marker and use my little ruler down here and make a mark where 5/8 of an inch is. After that, You can sew all the way down. I will be using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, making sure I'm starting at the line I marked. I am going to backstitch there. I'm putting my needle in the fabric so I can move this zipper. And you will sew all the way to the end. And I did back stitch there as well. Alright. Before we top stitch that, I am going to go ahead and attach the other side. So we're going to take the opposite exterior main piece and lay it right sides down so our rectangles that are cut out in the corners should all be on the same side. I'm going to match my corner up with the end of my zipper tabs. And now we'll grab our last exterior or lining main panel and we will clip those together. Again, where the zipper tabs are, you'll want to stop sewing 5/8 or start sewing, either one, 5/8 of an inch away from the end. So I'm going to mark that again. Alright, I have to cut these. Okay, and we'll sew this side on with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and making sure to start at the marked the marking on your exterior. Mine's on my exterior this time. It was on my lining. The needles down, I'll move my zipper and everything else. Alright, and keep on checking. Now we'll open these up and top stitch them. Open them completely up. You can see my blackness. Okay, there we go. Press your seam allowances away from the zipper. And then you want to start 5/8 of an inch away from your zipper tabs when you top stitch your seam allowance. I got it turned up to 4.5. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, except I'm going to start top stitching at the end this time, and I'll end at the 5/8 of an inch away from the beginning. Do not forget to stop 5/8 of an inch away. However, if you do, you can always just rip out the stitching, which I have done. You only need to rip it out until you get to the end, to the 5/8 inch mark, sorry. And that's good enough. I've done it a lot. Okay, so now we are going to put our exteriors right sides together. And we want to actually clip them, not on the pocket sides, on the sides that has the rectangles cut out of them. That's the sides we're clipping together right now. We're going to sew these clipped sides at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And we're going to stop sewing when the rectangle is there. Now you need to open your zipper all the way up. Okay, and you are going to open this seam allowance and press it. If you used waterproof canvas for your lining, be careful when pressing that seam open so you do not melt any of your canvas. Turning your stitch length to 4.5, I'm going to top stitch this seam, which can be tricky, but just try to keep your fabric spread open. I'm trying to let you see this as much as I can, but I just keep pulling it open as much as I can, and then when it gets uncomfortable, I move everything again. to get all the way to the top. Sorry, I had a lot of trouble with that one at the end for some reason. Now we have to do the other side. So I'm top stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the seam on both sides. Don't worry about getting like too close to the top, but you want to get really, really close to the top. But it will be all enclosed later. Okay, well, we are going to repeat with the lining main panels. However, I am not going to top stitch the lining panels. And I am going to make sure my stitch length is back down. Okay, my zipper was already all the way open from the previous step. Okay, so we're going to grab our back panel and our straps that we already made at the beginning. Sorry, you want your 2 straps, you want 2 strap connectors, a handle piece, 2 slides, and 2 rectangle rings. So first we are going to take our strap connectors rather, and put our rectangle ring in our strap connector. I top stitched my strap connector together already, and now I'm going to top stitch across this close to the hardware. This is not the same way the pattern has you do it, but it's just the way that I prefer. Gonna do it with another one. I do stitch that line about 3 times because it is a there'll be a lot of weight there. Just burning my end here. Now we're going to take our strap, our real straps this time, and we're going to take the a slide and put it up through one side of your slide and back down the other side. My fold over is going to be an inch approximately, maybe an inch and a half. I'm going to top stitch this on, or yeah, I guess I'm top stitching it on. Sometimes your hardware gets stuck, so you gotta move that around. Here you could use a rivet instead if you would like. I actually enjoy that this pattern doesn't necessarily need any rivets, and the stitching is not too hard that you would need to use the rivets. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to the other one. A lot of the times I just use rivets because it's too hard to sew in that area. I wouldn't say maybe too hard, but I just don't like it that much, so I just rivet it instead. Okay, so now we will take our two strap connectors and put them on the markings that I did not make, but I thought I did. So what I do here is I actually cut my marks. I stay within the seam allowance. Try to go only about 1/8 of an inch. That way I never get out of the habit to not use anything smaller or larger than 1/8 of an inch. While I'm cutting my marks, I'm going to go ahead and cut my center mark on the top and the bottom, because we always need those markings. Looks like when I cut this on the fold, I cut it a wee bit too big. So, since I'm here, I will trim that down. Making sure my marks stay some extra decaville. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the center clip. All right, back to business. The strap connectors go on the bottom, and they are at an angle. So what you want to do is take your bottom corner of your strap connector and match it to the corner and match it up to that corner, and then it should fit just perfectly in between, and it's at an angle, so it's pointing up towards the top of the bag. I will base stitch this on using 1/4 inch seam allowance. I usually like to start 1 stitch before the vinyl, because that's what I'm using for my connector. And then stop 1, maybe 2 stitches afterwards. Oops. See how it's pointing up? Maybe I'll be able to see it. Whoa, it's so close. Alright, there we go. So you're going to put that point on the bottom. So you'll have overhang like this, and we'll trim it off later. Ignore that, I don't know what that is. Piece of fabric that's not supposed to be there. Your strap should match. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Well, not a seam allowance, a basting allowance. Alright, now that those are on, we can grab our straps with the raw end, not the raw end, the folded end that you had. Put the raw side facing up. You're going to come up from the bottom of your strap connector with the opposite end than what you sewed on already. You're going to bring it through, and then you're going to put it right back up. Here's my raw edge. Put it right back up through my connector. And right back down the other side. Then the raw end can be clipped on to the strap placement mark. I then like to grab my handle piece, clip that one next. Sorry, I just had to make sure I had the right clip marks. The only downside about that is it's really hard to tell which clip marks are for which, because there's so many. Okay, so my handle's clipped on in my handle marks. Then I'm going to take my last strap and do the same thing. Cooper quick. Up through the bottom of the bag with the strap connector. And you're going to go right back up through your strap slide. Through your strap slide. And back down. And then that one is done and can be clipped to the last strap mark. And now I'm gonna base stitch this on all the way across, all of them. I do it this way so I don't have to waste any thread or anything like that. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance for my base stitching. I'm going to keep going so I get to the other handle piece. And those are now base stitched on. And you have your completed back piece. Next, we will be attaching the back panel. Okay, let's put our back on. In the pattern, it tells you to put the exterior on first. I am going to put the lining on first. I find it easier to put the lining on and then the exterior. Okay, so I'm going to fold my lining back panel in half. And I'm going to clip my halfway points. On the top and the bottom. Okay. This is our zipper tab from the lining side. We cut it so we can open it up like this. This is the other side of the zipper tab. Here's the right side. And this is the wrong side. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to pin the lining to only this one, and then the exterior to only this one. So the lining is going to clip right onto this one and all the way down the lining, but only on this side. Do not sew it with this one. Okay, so I just guess about where the center is on your zipper tab. You could fold it in half and clip it, not with your scissors, but mark it. Make sure this is right sides together. And I like to start at the top here. So I fold all of the exterior side down and out of the way like this. and I grab a clip and do it at the center. And then I grab a clip and do it right over here where your zipper tab seam allowance wasn't sewn before, and right there. And all of my exterior side of my zipper tab is out. When you're sewing, you still have to be really careful not to grab any of this. Okay, and then I'm going to clip at the bottom corners of the bottom panel and the inside. If you were going to put a zipper pocket on there, I would put it on the zipper, or on the back panel right here. That's going to be your easiest spot for turning and for access. I am not going to put a pocket in. I think this panel is only about 8 inches wide. So you're going to only want your zipper pocket to be about 6 inches if you're going to do one. Which, coincidentally enough, is how much of an opening I leave in my lining instead of the 8 inches like it calls for. So I'm just squishing my lining panel in. And then I'm gonna mark, because I always forget to stop sewing, so I have to rip it back open. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew about 2 inches, and then I'll stop, and then 6 inches away is where I'll start sewing again. Actually, I'm gonna make it 5 inches. I think I should have only sewed probably maybe an inch at the beginning. Okay, so we're gonna have a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. And then back stitch at the beginning and at the end here. And then I'm just going to bring that straight on up. Make sure we're still at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Start sewing again and back stitch. And then we're going to sew the rest of the way around. Okay, here's where it can start to get a little tricky, but what I do is I fold that exterior tab back and hold it down with my thumb when I get to about right here. And I constantly, even though it's under my thumb and I can feel it, I'm constantly checking it. I have sewn it so many times. And you still want to keep that 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure that whole back stays out of the way. Alright. Excuse me for just a second. I see I have no bobbins, and my bobbin is currently not bobbing. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing now to the other side, except we're not going to leave an opening. And with the back, you have all the extra straps and stuff, so it is kind of tricky. Okay, you'll still want to keep your lining side out of the way. I believe we marked the top and the bottom centers. Yep. Okay, so we're just going to match our center clip up with the center of our zipper tab. Again, only the exterior piece of the zipper tab, not the entire zipper tab. So again, I clip right there in the center, and then I clip the seam allowances down too. And then I get around to my first strap. I think it's actually the handle, and I clip the handle. And then I clip the strap connector. Actually, it's just a strap, sorry. I've got all these names confused. And then I clip right where your side pocket piece is. And then sometimes we don't get along, so we have to ease this back in. So I start at the bottom and work my way back up. Okay, so then we're going to flip over to the other side, and I'm going to clip at the bottom for starters. And I'll clip the strap connector. That's actually the strap connector this time. Woohoo! Okay, and then we'll clip the side zipper pocket. And ease this in. Okay, that's all clipped on. Let's sew it on. So I'm going to have the exterior back panel looking at me. Though I would much prefer to do it the other way, but this is easier in the long run. Okay. Okay, we're going to go over bulky strap pieces. I am not going to backstitch across those. I will come back and sew an extra line for strength when we're done. Crazy to me how thick those zipper tabs are, but that's probably just my waterproof canvas. So. We're getting close to that zipper tab at the top. Just make sure your needle is down before you start moving your fabric around a whole bunch. Okay. All right. So we've gotten all the way around. I double checked that I got my strap, or my exterior, sorry. I am double checking that I got my strap connector. This is not a strap connector, oh my goodness. The zipper tab sewn in only on the one side. And it looks like I am good. So what I'm going to do is come back to the two strap connectors on the bottom, and I'm gonna sew 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching I just did in the seam allowance. So now I have a base stitch line of stitching. I have a extra line of stitching, and I have my regular line of stitching. It's just going to reinforce that strap connector there, since it's going to bear a lot of weight. I'm going to do the same thing at the zipper tabs at the side here, just because I kind of stitched over those. So that was just not necessary. Then I'm going to start at the strap, and again 1/8 of an inch away from my previous line of stitching I'm going to sew, but I'm going to do that all the way around to this other strap, so I don't have to stop and start and stop and start. Because I'm doing the extra row of stitching, I still want to make sure that my lining fabric is out of the way. I still do not want to catch that. So if you wish, here you can stop. And then you could start again right here. But I just find it easier to just keep on going instead of starting and stopping. And then I'll backstitch there. Okay. So now we can trim our seam allowances down everywhere. I do about 1/4 of an inch, except for at your turn hole. So don't trim that down. However, I accidentally did on my last one, and it folded in just real nice. And I literally did that this afternoon, so. I'm also not going to trim my zipper tabs, just because I'm not feeling like it. I actually can't recall if I did before or not. I had to have. I know I did, because I trimmed all the way around. So for these, I'm not going to trim anywhere except for where there's like no straps or connectors or handles or anything. So I'm literally just trimming this spot here and the exact opposite spot on the other end. Really, there's probably no reason to trim this. And that's just a personal preference. Okay, so now we're done with this for right now. Keep it nearby though. We're gonna grab our bottom panel and fold it in half. Clip your middle. Repeat with the lining. Fold in half, clip your centers. Alright, then you have your D-ring strap made. I did it at the beginning. My D-ring is on here. I'm going to stitch across close to the seam allowance. Sorry, close to the bottom of the hardware. Burn my ends. Then we're going to take that and we're going to clip it to the rounded side, matching up the centers, clipping if you need to, and then base stitching on at 1/4 inch. Done. Alright, while I'm at it, I'll tell you my secret. I sign all the bases of my bags and date them. Because it's a work of art. Artists sign their work, I'll sign mine. Because I'm an artist too. Let's double check to make sure that our zipper is all the way open. It is. So I'm going to stuff my straps in here. We're going to work on the exterior side first. We have our front center seam right here. That's where our D-ring is going to match up. So match those up, matching your clips, whatever. I like to clip right around it, like right next to it, before pulling it to match up the other end. Sometimes these clips can be a little weak and they can let go, and then I have to start all over. I matched up my centers. Your vinyl should angle off a little bit right here in this corner and in this one. Mine is quite a bit different off. I'm going to clip here and here so these don't move anymore. And then I'm going to come back to the other side and ease this curved piece in. Curved piece. Okay. I find this fits in here all right. However, when I am sewing it on, it shifts every single time. I don't think I've had it not shift ever. So, on the same bag earlier this afternoon, I stapled my bottom. And I am absolutely going to be doing that again. Because afterward, it just didn't move while I was sewing anymore. It was perfect. Okay. So, let's grab the stapler. Which I so conveniently put right next to me. And just staple it on. I use just a normal stapler. I don't know if you're supposed to use something different, but this works just fine for me. It staples through my vinyl. No big deal. You just want to make sure you give yourself enough seam allowance. But you want to clip it on there, staple it on there. Pretty good on there. So you don't end up having it shift a little. I think I'll clip it again. Now we'll let that try to move in there on its own. Okay. And that's what we're going to do. Let's sew it on. I'm going to start at the back on that long straight edge. And I always like to start in about the center. I always just guess, but Alright, here we go. I'm not going to backstitch there because I'm going to sew over it when I get back around. So we'll come down here and I can see the point on my Peltex. Well, it's not Peltex, this is actually Decaville Light. And I know that that's a 1/2 inch away from the end. So I'm actually going to pivot a little bit there while I have my foot down. Alright, and you want to keep that 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here's one of those zipper tabs again. Oops. That was the strap clip connector. Another zipper tab. And we should be through most of the bulky stuff now. Smooth sailing here on out. bottom was a little big, so we gotta work our way around that. Oops, went a little far, so I just backed up a little bit. Just going to take a peek around. Okay. Where that clip connector is, I'm going to sew over it again. 1/8 of an inch away, just like we did with all the rest of the straps and big pieces. I'm not going to do it, I guess. Hold on, my bobbin's mad. There we go. There's a very unwound. Oh, I hate that. Like in a roll, in a groove. You're rolling, and then you drop it, and all that work you did is gone. Unrolled. Okay, let's try that again. Let's start a little bit more before the bulk. There we go. My machine doesn't like it when you make her work hard too fast. And I can't say I blame her. So now you're going to want to remove those staples we just put in. I would not leave them in, as they could probably damage your lining fabric. Plus, you don't want any falling out and poking anyone. That would hurt. Okay. Same thing. Lining side. No strap is clip connector this time. Alright, so I'm matching up the back center panels and the lining panel, and I'm matching up the center clips to the front seam, which I am going to open. I did not top stitch that seam, as I said before, but just a reminder. The lining can move a little bit more than what you want your exterior to, so I do not staple the lining. In fact, usually I use like significantly less clips and everything. Just basically enough to like hold it together and get around the curves for the most part. I do still start on the back. Before you start sewing, you put your needle down, maybe stick your hand up in here or something, make sure your zipper's still open. I know mine is. We're going to sew all the way around. Remember, we left a turning hole on the side. Okay. We're still using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Getting to the front center, so I'm going to make sure my seam is pressed open all the way. If you like to add tags to your bag, adding a tag at the bottom here now would be a good idea. Oh, I thought my thread ended. Darn it. But it did remind me to look at my bobbin, and I never got it going. Okay, now you can add it. I actually add it when I'm closing up my hole, so it's on the side instead of the bottom. Pivot a little bit again. And that is that. I did something weird. I don't know what I did. I stitched something to something that I shouldn't, I think. No, I was right, just being paranoid. Alright, so I'm going to come back. I'm stitching on the other side this time, so I can see where I didn't like it. And then put it here. And I ripped out a little bit up here too. So I just gotta get back there. Sorry about that. Okay, we can trim that down now. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I did not trim where the clip connector is. Okay. So we're going to go to our hole and our lining. Right here. Stick our hand in. Come all the way to the bottom. So I push my corners in. On both sides. And then I'm just like kind of pulling it by the bottom panel. Just work her out. Okay, this is a hot mess, but after you get this all turned out, you can press it, and we'll be back to finish it up. Okay, so now that our exterior is pushed all the way out, I've got my lining still crumpled up right here. So I'm going to find my hole and tuck all my edges in. The half inch seam allowance, I think is what it is. Anyways, whatever looks lined up and nice to you. And then I just edge stitch this closed. So I just top stitch it. Like I said though, this is where I add my tag on this bag. I just threw my tag away and cut the paper. Alright, here's my tag. And mine's just a foldable tag. See the little guys? So, it's got stuff on the other side too. Then I just slide it in to where I want it and move one of my clips to hold it a little bit. And then I'm going to start at the top and sew it on. Well, sew it closed rather. You can use whatever stitch length your heart desires on this, I feel like. I use a 4.5, I use a 2.5, I use a 3. And there is literally no reason why I use one over the other. I just use whatever. Ran out of bobbin thread. I just use whatever my machine's set at. We're going to call this bobbin close enough to done, even though it's not. It's good enough for, I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to try to make a joke, but I'm not very good at those. All right. I'm gonna just proceed where I left off and make sure I backstitch. And backstitch at the end. Trim your thread. We're so close. Burning thread ends. Okay. I'm gonna open up our exterior and stuff this in now. I try to get excuse me, I'm sorry. I try to get it as smooth as possible in there now, so it makes the next step easier. And I pull it all the way up from the bottom, so it's flush in this front corner, or this front center here. So then what we're gonna do is I like to zip my zipper shut, and I don't know if you just saw what I did, but I'm gonna do it again. So I'm gonna zip my zipper shut, and then I'm gonna hold it right here. I can feel the center. I'm gonna push my zipper to the center seam, keeping everything nice and taut right here, and that's gonna box our corner for us. So what I like to do is clip the boxed corners. You can clip closer if you want. I'm going to keep this closed right now. And then we're going to grab our front clip connector. So it's this piece here. And what I did is put double-sided tape along these 4 edges, and then I folded it in, and then I top stitched it. Now we have tape here and here, double-sided tape. That's what I have. That was the lining side, or the wrong side. So my tape is 1/4 inch tape. So my tape line is where I'm folding. And I'm going to push that down nice and flat. We're going to do that with this other side here. Just so you know, I did this piece, the prepping, when I was doing the straps. I could have done this part too, but I did want to show you all how I was doing this. So it's like this now. So I'm going to fold it in half and get my clip and then shove that in there. Open it up so my clip is on the exterior and it's in the center. And then what I'll do is I'll line up my folded in edges and I'll clip it. Alright, now we're gonna top stitch this as close to the hardware as you can. I am not at a top stitch length. only at a 2.5. But I'm gonna go with it. I'm pulling my threads to the back side. And then I will tie my threads. Sorry, I struggle tying these thin, teeny tiny threads. This is why you're supposed to always have like 6 inches of thread pulled to the back before you start sewing. But it's so wasteful most of the time. Okay, and then I'm going to trim those threads. And now I'm going to burn them. Okay, so this is what you have now. Okay, take those clips off. You'll need them, so don't put them away. Actually, you won't need them. Put them away. Goodbye. We already have clips on here. Okay, so we're back over here. We've got our corner boxed already. All that's left now is to slide this bad boy on. Well, I think there's some kind of explanation of where to stop. It should butt up to the zipper stop. Now, I use zipper tape, so I have no idea where that is. 3/8 of an inch away from the end, because I think you're supposed to cut that at the beginning, right? I don't know. However, I just take it and I put it on to where the zipper is in the center and a little bit right when my fabric starts showing, just a teeny tiny bit. Can you see what that? See my sandwich? My fabric just starts showing a little bit right there. So that's where I'm going to put clip 1 and clip 2. And you want to make sure they're straight. So I'm doing this upside down right now, so I'm going to turn it around real quick and look. And make sure my box is right, because it looks a little off-sided right now. There we go. I had it boxed down too far. Yeah, that looks nice. Alright, so then we're going to drop this down and definitely make sure that you have your seam allowance, your stitch length rather, set to your top stitch length, or you're going to be so sad. That was a little excessive on the sews, but No, not really. Okay, so I'm going to trim my thread because I back stitched. I can't pull them but to the back. I am going to hit it with some fire just in case. And then that's it. You can open this back up and adjust your boxing. It's supposed to be, sorry. Okay, so it's supposed to be pretty tall. Sometimes that waterproof canvas is a stinker to get straightened out. So we can clip those together. And close her up. And this is the mini size. It's so tiny. Can you see that? It looks so dark. Oh, that makes it way worse. Okay, so it's just a little thing. This is the straps all the way down up, so, but it's just tiny. Well, all right. I hope I helped or gave you some entertainment at the very least. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. This is my first time doing a video for YouTube besides my welcome video, so I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Bye.